I just want to, before we adopt the agenda, I want to welcome the wonderful new superintendent, Dr. Myers, that is sitting on the left of me. Welcome officially as our new superintendent to your first board meeting as a superintendent. And we look forward to working with you. All right, are there any consent agenda items that a board member would like to have discussed as an action item? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move. Do I have a motion that the governing board adopt the meeting agenda?
I move that the governing board adopt the meeting agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. B, public hearing. B1, public hearing on the 21-22 expenditure budget. B2, 2021-2022 school week calendar. And we will have Ms. Bilyeu, Ms. Gonzalez, and Dr. Myers come and provide us information.
Good evening, Madam President, governing board members, all those in the audience, and those viewing online. We appreciate this opportunity to share with you regarding the proposed school calendar for the 2021-22 school year and the instructional model that we'll be proposing. We recognize that the pandemic isn't over and that we want our staff, our students, our families to know that we will continue to do all that we can to keep everyone safe and continue to keep safety as our priority. These are hard decisions right now. They've been hard decisions through the pandemic, and they continue to be very hard decisions as we think about all the stakeholders that are impacted and especially our children. We know that as educators, it's critical that we remember why our organization exists, our mission, our vision, and why we do what we do each and every day. As great practitioners, we know that we must consider multiple sources of data, searching for patterns, trends, and as we dig deeper, considering all viewpoints and all the data, we know that we're eventually led in the right direction. And with at the very forefront of all that, I want to share with you, I came across a speech by Reverend Dr. Patrick T. O'Neill. And his speech was titled, "And How Are the Children?" And his speech went like this: "Among the most accomplished and fabled tribes of Africa, no tribe was considered to have warriors more fearsome or more intelligent than the mighty Maasai. It is perhaps surprising then to learn that the traditional greeting between the Maasai warriors, Kasai Injea, which means, 'And how are the children?' It is still the traditional greeting among the Maasai, acknowledging the high value that the Maasai always place on their children's well-being." And so with that in mind, again, I continue to reflect on that as we went through the data, considered all viewpoints, and just looked at the data, we continue to ask ourselves, and how are our children? And so I'm going to pass it on to Mandy as she shares some of our findings that helped us lead to what we're proposing to you this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Myers. So it's my part of the presentation to share with you our journey so far. And the HB 2862, the House Bill 2862, is what prompted us to revisit our calendar. This legislation gave districts and charged districts with looking at their instructional model and the number of minutes that they had in the classroom, but it also gave us great flexibility on how instruction is delivered. In making these decisions, Alhambra's team gathered multiple points of data to determine what instructional model would net the best outcomes for our kids. And our goal was to listen to multiple voices and to consider multiple perspectives. So we surveyed key stakeholders, we surveyed certified staff, we surveyed parents, we surveyed school and district leaders to gather their insight. We examined the practices of our neighboring districts and charter schools to look both at the practices that they had in place, but also to look at what choices might our families have if they disagreed with the choices that we made. We consulted research and best practice, and we verified that any of the choices that we made, that these practices or the choices would not impede our ability to support the health and safety that needs to be maintained for our staff. So the choice that we're presenting is not going to impact the plans we have for air quality in our district, or our deep cleaning plans, or our plans to protect our children and our staff with our Micro Shield 360, things like that. None of those things will be impeded. One of the most compelling stories that was told to us was in our examination of the research, because as we considered and continue to ask ourselves, how are the children, research told us a story. And it really, I believe, confirms what is in our gut as educators. Because the research told us that nationally, first and second graders experience the most dramatic drop in reading scores as a result of experiencing the pandemic. Children lost at least 1.5 months of reading, and students of color fared far worse than that. By spring, research told us that 7th and 8th graders in the nation were 8 to 11 weeks off track. We also learned that parents and families and children who participated in virtual learning were more likely to report signs of negative physical, mental, emotional, and emotional health. And that the majority of school teachers across the nation would tell us that the pandemic resulted in a significant learning loss for students. This impact was felt even greater in our populations of Black and Hispanic students, and also students with disabilities. So as we consider the question, how are the children, the data told us a pretty compelling story. So based on what we considered and everything we learned as we made these considerations, we are proposing that we move from a 144-day calendar to 180 days of instruction. We are proposing that we restore Wednesday as an in-person instructional day. This decision and this move will provide our students with an additional 144 hours of instruction. I'm going to ask Melissa to continue this conversation.
So by adopting our proposal, what this means is providing our kids with 144 additional hours of quality connection with teachers and staff, given at the highest quality of the learning experience that we could possibly provide. We talked about many factors that were considered. So AZ merit AZ merit information was one of those factors that came into play. Now, when our teachers and our certified staff were given the opportunity to complete their survey, we didn't have any of this data, any of this preliminary data. We had no idea how our students had fared on ELA or on math for this spring testing. Now that we have this preliminary data and we can compare it to the state's preliminary, we're pretty confident that we can say COVID's negative impact to teaching and learning was tremendous. We know that this data is not a true representation of who we are or what we can do for our kids, for our academic work or for our SEL work. It even proved how we were going in above and beyond during the crazy challenge of the pandemic. With that being said, the power that we have in knowing this data is that we can and we will do something about it. That's our purpose. We are here to ensure that we are positively growing the whole child every day in a safe and nurturing, inspiring environment. Students being able to have 36 more days of instruction equaling at 104 more contact hours with high quality and seeing teachers and staff will, in my opinion, be life-changing, but really, it's incredibly meaningful, but not just to their learning potential, not just about data. It's incredibly meaningful to their social and emotional wellness. Social and emotional wellness has been a focus and continues to be a focus. We care deeply about our teachers and staff as we value the work that they do. We know it's hard. We know they give selflessly. We know it takes a lot out of them. And we care about our kids. We know that they need a safe place that is filled with love to build their confidence and their capacity, and that they are healthy. In reading survey feedback and having individual conversations with a variety, realize that adding more instructional days in person, though necessary, means that our effort at the district level has to be to support the wellness of our Alhambra family. That has to be a priority. One example of how the Educational Services Department is continuing to create rich and quality lessons, resources, platforms, professional learning materials, and one-to-one support for our teachers to give them the instructional support that they need when they need it. Another example is how our district site and wellness teams are on a mission to provide support that are not limited to resources, space, celebration, and encouragement. Every site has a wellness ambassador and a wellness clerk to make sure that their access to our wellness supports are easy and can happen in real time. In addition, our counselors and social workers are going above and beyond and have been to ensure that there is space for our students and our staff to connect with if they need to, when they need to. We know that people's time matters. And we will ensure that time is used wisely, it's aligned to authentic purpose, adds value to the critical work we do. Wednesday afternoons are disseminated for site and district leaders to have 90s to support our teachers in professional learning and certified staff to support the growth and development of our kids. And teachers have 18 days to utilize as they need to be at their best. We are committed to giving the best support possible because we know that when our teachers and our staff are at their best, our students will flourish. This is just a reminder of our communication timeline and our action timeline. After the board meeting, communication is prepared to be sent out to our families and to our staff to ensure that we are making true efforts to be transparent and to share information in a timely way. I will pass it to Dr. Murray.
So again, as I shared, I want to thank everybody for their input. Thanks, a big thank you to Mandy and Melissa for the time they took to really go through all the data with me. A big thank you to all those who completed the surveys, our staff, our parents, just everybody. And so it was a lot of data to consider. And again, we continually ask ourselves, we continually remind ourselves our mission, our vision, and ask ourselves, how are our children? We have a responsibility to them. As the slide says, this decision will impact each child for years to come. And so we appreciate this time to share our recommendation for the proposed calendar. Thank you.
Any question, board members or comments?
Just comments. I just want to, I just greatly appreciate the amount of work and effort that the district leadership team put into this decision. I know it's not an easy decision to make, and a lot rides on it. But I think at the end of the day, as was stated, it's our children that come first, and their learning that is our top priority as a district. Yeah, I just, again, thanks for doing all the hard work. I think it makes our decision making up here a lot easier, knowing that we're in hands that are as passionate and hardworking as y'all.
Struggled with this for a while. Put so much work into the 212 calendar. Lots of heartfelt discussions. This is the right decision to make. Please understand what I'm saying. do need to go back to the 100 days. We need to go back to this calendar. But it is a little bit painful. I want to make sure that we recognize the hard work that went into the 2 format. Wisdom that we have, abandoning that to the calendar. Echo what board members said. Thank you all for the hard work to making this happen, turning it around in time, really. School starts in what, less than a month. Task of making sure that this to everybody. I was talking to one of my neighbors that's already enrolled their children in a different. Wait, come back. We're going to have 5 out. For communicating, school leaders have great plans for communicating that as well. So to sum that all up, thank you. Yes, I do appreciate all the work that went into making the changes. I do appreciate the work that the teachers are going to have to do to change, to adapt to a schedule that they weren't expecting. That our team will make sure that this message gets broadcast far and wide so that our families will know that we are thinking of them, their students, and wanting to do what's best for them. Thank you all for your hard work and doing all the research.
I'm going to echo what my fellow board members have said, and also, if there's one thing I know about Alhambra, I know that our teachers are going to rise to the occasion and they're going to get it done. I know they love their students, and I know our principals are going to be guiding them and there for them every step of the way. So it might be looking a little muddy and difficult right now, but I know, and I have a lot of confidence in our leaders and our teachers and all of the staff members to support our kids and our teachers during this change. So I want to upfront say thank you to all of our leaders for supporting those teachers and students that will be coming back.
I would like to acknowledge our parents and just say thank you for, just going through this process with us throughout the entire pandemic. The response rate from our parents I heard was very strong, and our parents have confidence in this district to educate the whole child. And one of the other things I want to acknowledge is to our teachers. I know that the teachers were surveyed, and probably there's probably a lot of teachers that wanted something different than what is being proposed. But we are going to make sure that we have as much support as possible. And just really thanking Dr. Mayas, Ms. Bilyeu, and Melissa for just your leadership and showing that this is one of the first really large decisions that we all have to make together as a team, as a family, especially with Dr. Mayas on board. And it just shows that we are able to have a collaborative environment where lots of stakeholders are being listened to, and that we are going to come together, we're going to make a decision, and then we're going to execute. So I really appreciate all of the hard work, and I just look forward for the school year for us to continue this environment of collaboration, environment of listening, environment of building trust, and taking care of every single person in the school district, from the teachers, staff, parents, families, everyone. So thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Okay, move to C, public comment, and we have one public comment. I'm excited because this is the first one in a long time. So Tanner Kent, come on down.
Thank you. Good evening, President O'Neill France, Governing Board, Superintendent Mayes. As you may or may not know, I am Tanner Kent and the recently appointed President of the Alhambra District Education Association. As I begin a new chapter myself, I look forward to the new chapters that we're all encountering: a new school year in light of COVID, a new superintendent. I, along with our ADEA membership, am excited for us as we pave the way into the 21-22 school year as partners in service to our Alhambra community. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, move to consent agenda. D1, approval of consent agenda items. I call for a motion that the governing board approves consent agenda items D2 through D14. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve consent agenda items D2 through D14.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Any discussion?
Just a quick comment on item number 9, D9, which is $1 Million Teacher Project Program Agreement. This program, when I worked at Phoenix College as a service learning coordinator, I was helping with place students into school districts. And I just want to uplift this program. It's something that I hope we can continue this cooperation. And I just want to say I'm really excited about this. So that's all I have.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 E-Business Services, E1, adoption of the 21-22 expenditure budget. I call for a motion that the governing board adopt the administrative proposed 21-22 expenditure budget. Do I have a motion?
I move that the governing board adopt the administrative proposed 2021-2022 expenditure budget.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Second.
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
E2, Greater Phoenix Educational Management Council intergovernmental agreement. Okay, call for a motion that the governing board approve the intergovernmental agreement with the Greater Phoenix Educational Management Council. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
E3, approval of resolution for signing a summary voucher cover sheet of vouchers between governing board meetings. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the resolution allowing for the signing of a summary voucher cover sheet of vouchers between scheduled governing board meetings. Do I have a motion?
I move that the governing board approve the resolution allowing for the signing of a summary voucher cover sheet of vouchers between scheduled governing board meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 F, new business. F1, revision to the AESD school calendar for the 21-22 year. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the revision to the 21-22 school calendar, school week calendar. Do I have a motion?
I move that the governing board approve the revision to the 2021-2022 school week calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
G1, informational items, you have your financial report. And then move to H, comments and communication. H1, comments from the governing board members.
Yes, I have a comment. This weekend, I was perusing through Phoenix Magazine. It's their Great 48 2021 edition. And I was very fortunate to find a familiar name on this list, Miss Mia De La Rosa. So she's being honored among the entire state as one of the great 48 people, along with CEOs and entrepreneurs, chefs, athletes, you name it. So I'm going to read the excerpt that's listed on the magazine. Mia De La Rosa is never afraid to push the boundaries for her students and their success. She even channeled Parks and Recreation's Leslie Knope to help her students at Sevilla Elementary School West Campus to virtually work with architects to redesign nearby Little Canyon Park during the pandemic. As part of the Verizon Innovative Learning Program, she has worked tirelessly to seek out community partners to help her advocate for the Valley's underrepresented youth. So I just wanted to highlight that accomplishment and read that for everyone. I had a pleasure of working with these students and Miss De La Rosa on this project, and it was just amazing what our students were able to produce, and amazing just the people that she was able to bring to the table to help support our students. So I just wanted to highlight that.
That was great. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Truly a beautiful story of one of our teachers. Thank you for bringing that to us. Did you want to say anything on behalf of your teacher? You don't have to. You don't have to, okay? It's all right. I don't mean to pressure you. Put you on the spot. No, maybe? I bet you she is amazing. You didn't even know you were going to come to the podium today. Look at you.
Did not know. Yes, so she is relentless. That's what I was saying earlier. We actually just had a conversation with an aerospace company yesterday, who we are trying to connect them with AWEM, A World in Motion, that we've partnered with for 5 years, so that we're gonna grow this partnership so that they can go to our school and start doing stuff with aerospace and like the flight and clearly I don't know much about that part of it, but it's pretty exciting because as we try to have innovation for our students and give them real world experiences besides just reading and writing and math, but at the application level, it was a gift. We've been looking. It's exciting.
Thank you, Ms. Bunch.
President France? I had two things I wanted to comment on. I too had been perusing some literature recently. Discovered that the two zip codes that our school district are in, 85015 and 85017, have the highest eviction rate in the whole of Maricopa County. So as we're looking to how we are recruiting students and families into our schools, I think we need to remember affordable housing and the fact that many of our families have been evicted, and that might be why we're not finding them. And I know that's near and dear to Christian too. We need to find affordable housing for our families. It's really brought it home to me when I saw that those statistics for our two zip codes. I then also spent the last 2 weeks of the legislative session sitting in the gallery of the House, which was less than invigorating. But I do know that we as community members, we as families, we as educational staff know what's important for our kids. We know that the future is in educating our youth. I know that we will not give up the fight, that we will continue what needs to be done to support our students in the public schools of Arizona. My husband, after one of that, I felt like the eensy weensy spider. Every day I got up and I went down there and felt like washed me out of that water spout, just like that spider. Came home, rested up, and went back the next day. How many years have we done that, and how many are we going to do? I know that. So thank you for all that you do. Support our students and our families.
Madam President, I'd just like to acknowledge some of our guests that we have in attendance with us today. I met them today, so I just want to give them a shout out to Tanner, Christine, Penny, and Sunny. Really good meeting you all, and can't wait to hear more from you and work more closely together. The other thing I wanted to comment on, Madam President, is the ASBA official letter, which states Arizona school districts follow official public health guidance. It states that Arizona school districts have a fundamental obligation to protect the students entrusted to their care and provide a safe working environment for their employees. Both the Arizona Department of Health Services and the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention continue to recommend and strongly encourage vaccination and mask wearing in public for unvaccinated individuals. The Arizona legislature and Governor Ducey have prohibited school districts from implementing these measures by law, and school districts are complying with those mandates. The recent attempt by Governor Ducey's office to declare unlawful district policy that requires an unvaccinated student to quarantine after known exposure to COVID-19 is nonsensical, is in direct conflict with the guidance of his own Department of Health Services and places students at risk for political gain. The Arizona School Board Association will continue to recommend districts follow established AZDHS guidance to have students who display COVID-like symptoms to have contact with a COVID positive person stay home from school. Schools are prepared to work with parents and students to ensure they do not fall behind during any period they are not at school. And last paragraph says that Arizona's school districts are tired of being the battleground for a political argument over response to COVID that has nothing to do with science or public health. COVID-19 is a real, highly contagious disease spread by close contact between people. Schools are accustomed to working with and following the guidance of public health officials. Vaccines, masks, physical distancing, and isolation/quarantine are the strategies they recommend to stop its spread. Mandatory masking and vaccines are no longer options. Schools will comply with the law. However unwise it may prove to be, continue to encourage their communities to be safe and do what Arizona's state and county public health officials recommend until they are informed differently by those entities. Since the state's political leadership has decided it knows what is best for Arizona students, we await clarification from AZDHS. The consequences of the governor's decision for the health of Arizona students will be his to bear. And that's once again the ASBA official statement that was released, I believe, today. Thank you.
Moving to H2, Governing Board Direction and/or Agenda Item Request.
Madam President. I brought my healthy traffic light school reopening plan for the 2020-2021 school year, and just wanted to ask if we would get a revised and updated version for the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay, moving to H3, comments from the superintendent and executive team.
Everybody? Yeah, okay. Good evening, everybody. I didn't realize this was, that I would have this opportunity. So first, I just want to say thank you to everyone. It's been a pleasure. I've been out at multiple sites, been able to get to know more administrators and see some of our wonderful teachers in action, assistants, and we have, our team is working hard, and we'll have a product for you. We've been watching the data, watching our zip codes, and watching the guidance from the Arizona Department of Health, and so much to look at, but our team is preparing that, and so you'll have that soon. And again, I just want to thank all those that are making summer school such a positive experience for our students. And then Wednesday was a rainy day, and we had our food service team out there still distributing meals to go. And so many people working hard out there, and I just want to thank you all on behalf of our children and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving to I1. Next governing board meeting is August 5th, 2021. I2, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Conchas. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.